Hello fellow readers, book lovers, and whoever else is watching this. I'm Emily at Midnight. Welcome to my channel. Well, it's the end of January or the beginning of February, depending on when this goes up, and I've been thinking a lot about how I wanted to do things this year. And as you saw in my introduction to my bingo sheet video, I want to do more sort of chatty, casual updates on what I'm reading. So, since it's the end of a month, I figured we might as well talk about the books that I read in January. At the same time, I want to talk about the different squares of my bingo sheet that I fill out. I hope that you're following along with bingo on your own. There's a link in the description to this video for the bingo sheet, so you can fill it out as you read as well. Let's start with the very first book that I read in January. It was Iron Flame. Oh, I should grab that. Okay, the first book I read was Iron Flame. I was reviewing the Empyrean series, so I made a video on Iron Flame, Onyx Storm, and Fourth Wing. I did not like Iron Flame very much. It wasn't like the worst of the worst or anything, but there were so many major thematic inconsistencies. It was very frustrating to read. Like, I got genuinely angry at the inconsistencies several times. So that was not a great start for the year, but you know what it was a great thing for? Filling in the bingo sheet. It fills in my read a sci-fi or fantasy novel sheet. It's focusing on my face. Focus on the bingo sheet. Wow. There we go. So I will fill that in. I have the stickers that you probably can't see very well, but I have just a whole bunch of bookish stickers, and I'm going to be placing a sticker on each square as I fill it out. And then with my very fine pen, I will be writing the name of the book underneath it, just so I can kind of keep track of these things for myself. So there we have it. We have Iron Flame marked off with a book. After that, and to cleanse my system from a frustrating read, I read a middle grade book, a series that I've just started. A whole bunch of people around me when I was young were reading the Artemis Fowl books, and for some reason I didn't read them, and so I was like, I should go back and read those. I love going back to read things that people were reading when I was young that I just didn't get to. So I read the second book in that series, The Arctic Incident, and I thought that it would cover the free sheet, which I made under 300 pages because I was like, that's easy. You can read a book under 300 pages. I was thinking like, picture books, like books for children is kind of what my vision was there. But I was like, oh, I'll just do the Arctic Incident. But no, that one was like almost 400 pages. So that did not fill that spot. So I don't think it filled anything on this. I have so many continents on here. I was like, maybe I'd put Antarctica on here, but I think I specifically didn't because I wasn't interested in reading like a lab journal of a research scientist or something. Research scientist research. I don't know why I said it like that, but you know what I mean. After that, I read Falling for Your Best Friend by Emma St. Clair, and I really liked this book. It was so good. It's a really sweet romance that takes a lot of time to build in a way that I really liked. I love me a slow burn. And it also is like incredible autism rep because the main character spends the entire book trying to decide if she needs a diagnosis, if that's something that matters for her life, because she thinks she probably is autistic, but it doesn't really define her. And I think that's a very unique perspective, not in that no one has that, but in that we don't see it in media very often, because there are a lot of people who likely have autism, but it isn't really a big part of their life. So that kind of dialogue about whether it's even worth exploring was really interesting to me. There was an aspect about it that I was afraid was going to be bad. The romance, not the autistic representation. I was afraid that it was going to be one of those like kind of capital N nice guy moments.
Women never go for the nice guy.
Please, men say that, but you get to know some of these men who complain the most, you find out they're not as nice as they like to think they are.
But it wasn't, and it was really good. So I won't spoil anything beyond that. After that, I read That's Not My Name by Megan Lawley, and that book is a YA thriller, I believe. And wow, it was so intense. When I heard that it was a YA thriller, I was like, maybe this will be more casual, a little bit lighter than some of the thrillers that I read. It was so much more intense than anything like Riley Sager has ever written. Oh my gosh, kept me gripped on the edge of my seat. It was crazy. I really, really loved it, but it's emotional, so prepare yourself. After that, I had about 1 or 2 days before Onyx Storm came out, which I was going to read and did read to review it. After Iron Flame, I knew that I really needed to take full advantage of my free reading time to read things that I enjoy, because I was really, really afraid for the reading experience of Onyx Storm. So I picked up a book that is classic Emily coded. It is a very campy and hilarious vampire story. So the next book that I read is The Utterly Uninteresting and Unadventurous Tales of Fred the Accountant. No, of Fred the Vampire Accountant. It's by Drew Hayes, and it was so funny. Also, I learned it's a series, which is the best news of my life. It is like comedy gold. It's written in like little vignettes. It's like each chapter is like a different kind of story, and they all progress and build on each other. And it was just so fun. Every moment was so enjoyable. Obviously there's tension, but it's not really the stressful kind of tension. It was just that I'm having a great time kind of story. So that was the perfect palate cleanser, and I loved it. I don't think it can cover anything on my bingo sheet either, but I had a great time with it, and I recommend reading it, especially if you like campy vampire stories. Next, we have Onyx Storm, which I read and reviewed on my channel, and it was better than Iron Flame, for sure. It wasn't like my favorite thing that I've ever read, but it wasn't bad either. It definitely was a step up from the last book in the series. Now, I'm debating whether or not I want to use that on my A Book Published This Year square. I'm not sure, because I know I'm going to read other books published this year, but I might as well just fill out squares as I read them, right? So I'm just going to. All right, there we have it. We have Onyx Storm now represented. The next book I read because my friend Rachel was also reading it, and she said it was hilarious, so I needed it in my life. It's called My Roommate is a Vampire. I think it came out last year. I've been seeing it all over Barnes & Noble and other bookstores. It has this very cutesy pink and purple cover. I probably want to buy it because I had a really good time reading it. It's campy in the best way. As I just mentioned, I love me some campy vampire stories, especially vampire romances. And this one is a romance through and through. It was a little short, and so the romance felt a little compacted, but I still enjoyed it, so no complaints. The next book that I read this month, which I actually read today, is Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I probably said that wrong, but I'm trying really hard. Binti is an incredible sci-fi story. First off, it's super short, so if you're kind of scared of sci-fi, this is a great place to start. But I really, really enjoyed Binti. It's very imaginative and is kind of sci-fi fantasy almost, where it's like the magic side of sci-fi. There's a lot of classic aspects about sci-fi in this, but in a very approachable way. Like, there are other species that aren't human, but they're introduced in a very like casual way, in a way that I felt was really easy to consume. You don't have to understand everything about every species, they just also exist. I really loved the way that history and mythology in this world were woven into the story in a very approachable way as well. Really, it was just very beautifully written. I really enjoyed it. I also just learned that Binti is part of a series, so I will definitely be continuing that series. And I was just looking at my list, and Binti actually covers one of the bingo sheet options as well. It's written by a Black female author. So there we have it. Binti is now on my list. And I haven't read a picture book for the free square yet because I haven't been to a library, and I don't want to count a picture book that I already own because I've already read those. That feels a little bit like cheating to me. So I picked up King Arthur. It's a Scholastic Junior Classic by Jane B. Mason and Sarah Hines Stevens, and was very disappointed by it. But it does fill that square. It's got 131 pages, so it counts. I didn't like it though. It was like dumbed down in the wrong ways. Like, a lot of the actual words in this were still kind of higher prose and like older forms of English that would be difficult for a younger audience, but the story itself was what got dumbed down. And that was really disappointing to me. I would expect that if you're going to give a set of myths to a young child, like a junior classic, like this is, then you would dumb down the speech so that they can read it and know all of the words, but not dumb down the story so that they can still get the intrigue and the interest and the magic and the actual stories. I was quite surprised to see that while Guinevere and Lancelot both appear in this, the one story of King Arthur lore that was not mentioned is The Affair, which I guess is definitely a choice that I could see people making for a book for children, but it was still just an interesting choice to kind of dumb down the more interesting parts of the story. Anyways, I didn't like it. I actually only have this book because my mom got rid of it out of her library, and I picked up a couple of the books that she got rid of thinking that I might like them, and I did not like this one. So I will be sending that to a secondhand shop. But that does take up my free spot, so I have it listed there as King Arthur, the Junior Classic. And that is the last book that I've read this month. So January is over, and my bingo sheet is looking quite happy. So I'm very happy with my progress this month. I just kind of read things as they came, and then luckily many of them filled out the spots in this chart, but I do know I will have to be a little bit more intentional in future months because I do not often read books, for example, set in World War II in a non-Western country, and a lot of these other squares that I put on here specifically to push myself. So I do have to actually push myself to try and go for Blackout, which is what I'm going for. You're welcome to go for Bingo or Blackout. I haven't decided if we're going to do any kind of celebration when me or any of my subscribers hit a Bingo or a Blackout, but I feel like we should, you know? So I'll think on that. Definitely comment if you have any ideas for that. Oh, and you can't really see my shirt in this, but I got this shirt from The Onion that I really like. The Supreme Court overturns right versus wrong. So, you know, that's my fit for today. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun making it, and I'm excited to do more of these kind of casual conversation videos on my channel. Let me know if you like this style of thing. I'm thinking about doing them at the end of every month. It might still be every quarter, we'll see. I'll see how manageable it is to do this one in February, etc. So definitely let me know which kinds of things you're most interested in so I can focus in on that. That being said, please like this video and subscribe. It will really help my channel out. And if you're interested in following me on any social media or bookish sites, my Instagram, Goodreads, and Storygraph are all linked below, as well as my other social medias, Blue Sky, etc. So go ahead and follow me there. And definitely check out my other videos if you haven't watched my reviews of the Empyrean series, the Fourth Wing series, or my Harry Potter videos. I'm reacting to Harry Potter for the first time as an adult, and that's been really fun. And I'm also reading Wheel of Time. That being said, I have nothing left for you today but to say have a wonderful day, treat people with respect, and pick up a book.